Hey everyone, so today I'm bringing you 10 of my favourite drugstore slash high street highlighters. So you're not going to find all of these on the high street or in your local drugstore, but you'll definitely be able to find them online, and I'll put links to everything below. So I love to use highlighters, but there's different textures and it depends on the occasion as to what type I use. So there's cream, liquid and powder. So I'm going to start off with my favourites from the powder section. So the first one I'm going to talk about is by The Balm. Now a lot of people will know this. This is Mary Luminizer. This is so velvety soft. It's a gorgeous kind of golden shade, and this, when it goes onto the skin, it doesn't have any sparkle to it. It just looks like the skin's gleaming. This is so beautiful and it suits every skin tone as well. So this is definitely one of my favourites. It's probably one of the more expensive, but I think the quality of the powder and everything shows for the price, and I would recommend this to everyone basically. I absolutely love this one. So next up is a brand called Revolution. You can get this in Superdrug. I think it might be exclusive to Superdrug actually. Other than that, you can actually get it online. This is Golden Sugar. So this is a blush palette. They do have a separate highlight one. I don't know where that's gone. I was trying to look for it, but in this blush palette they do have some of the highlighters in there. Now whether you've got a pinky skin tone or a more yellow undertone, they have some shades here to suit you. So if you do have very light skin, this is a good one here. It's quite a white golden shade, and as you can see, it just reflects off the skin so beautifully. Again, it doesn't have any shimmer in it, which I really hate in highlighters. It's nothing worse than seeing like the glitter sparkles on your face. I prefer powders to just look like a beam rather than speckly bits of glitter. So this works really well. There's a more pink one if you prefer to have something with a slight hint of pink in. I mean, it's not obvious, but I think it's just a very, very pretty shade if you're looking for something a little bit more pinky. Or if you want something more peach, then this one underneath works really well. So next up is Pop Beauty. Now this has 4 in there. I like this palette because it suits kind of all skin tones. You've got a yellow, a gold, a pink and a peach in there. I like how the powder is very fine. So, you know, some powders that you use of highlighters, they're kind of chalky and they just sit on the skin. This really blends beautifully and it gives the finish of, not like a cream because it doesn't have that texture. Obviously it is powder, but it's not that like that chalky matte texture on the skin. It's very fine so that it sits beautifully within your own like natural texture. So it doesn't kind of just look like powder sitting on there. It's really, really nice. I would probably use this one and the pink one. Sometimes I kind of mix them a little bit, but I was really impressed by this, and I think you can get this in Debenhams. So next up is a powder by Topshop. This is the Chameleon highlighter, and this is in the shade Mother of Pearl. So this is like a pink pearlized golden shade. The quality of the powder is beautiful. It's very, very fine, and the way it goes onto the skin is just beautiful. It just kind of glides on. It doesn't stick or look chalky at all. This gives more of a peachy pink finish. This would look stunning on someone with darker skin. I can just imagine, boom, how that is going to look. This also looks beautiful as an eyeshadow. Don't limit yourself in makeup to just using the product as it's like recommended for. I mean, obviously some products you can't use in some areas just because of the ingredients that's in them might cause irritation, but things like this I would definitely use on the eyes. You could even, you know, use it if you wanted to mix it, put a little bit on your lips and then put gloss over the top. It's just a really beautiful colour. Don't know if you can see that peachy finish it gives. I haven't tried any of the other shades in this, but Topshop do a stick version and they do of a highlight, and they also do a pot, which is very, very popular, and I have actually used that a couple of times. I think it's beautiful, but I didn't want to include it in my 10 because I already have a few creams which I'm going to move on to shortly. The last product in the powder section is by Model Zone. So these highlighters are new in my collection. There's two here. There's Peach Pearl 2 and this one's Golden Sand 1. Now I actually have this one on my skin now, which is Golden Sand. This one, it's kind of like an iridescent-ish pinky peach, and this one I would say is more of a gold peach. So I don't know if you can really see a lot of difference there. You can kind of pick up slightly more of a pink in that one, and I would say that one's slightly more golden. As I say, that's the one I have on now, and these are so pigmented, so soft. They just kind of melt into the skin and just give such a beautiful natural glow. Now, what I would say for powder highlights, how I apply them, is with a brush mostly. So I'll use something like this, and I shall demonstrate. So I kind of press it on, tap off any excess, press, tap, press, tap. So I'm really pressing the powder into the brush, and then I kind of press that into my skin. So I don't brush it on, I don't sweep and do all that. I just press it into my skin, and I only do certain areas. I don't like go crazy with it. I tend to put it just on top of the cheekbone. I go underneath the eye because I want this to look all dewy as well. I don't carry it like underneath the lower lash line. I take it to the corner of the eye, go right under there, and then I take it as far as sitting on top of the apple almost. If you say just where the iris of the eye is, and then I take it to around here. So if you can imagine that if the brow extended out, stop there, and then I take some above the brow as well, and then down the nose a little bit. Sometimes I like to put it kind of not in between the brow here, but just there and there. Sometimes I like to, if I want a little bit more product on there, if I want it to apply it a little bit heavier, I'll use my finger. So I'll get some onto my finger, and then I'll very lightly tap. You see how instantly it's like a heavier coverage? You've got to be kind of careful with powders though, because especially if you're getting a little bit older like me, or whatever, if you've got dry skin, it really does highlight any fine lines that you have. So that's why I don't go like totally ham with this. I like to go a little bit lighter, but I'm just showing you for like camera purposes. What I do is after I've used my finger, I just go in with a brush just to soften it out so it's not like really hard areas. And then just to make it look like it's not just sitting on the skin powder, I'll kind of spray with, like, for instance, Fix Plus or Pixie's Glow Tonic Spray. I'll use something like that, and it just allows it kind of to settle into the skin a little bit more naturally. And then I just do this. So now for the cream highlighters. I like to use creams and liquids more on a day basis, and if I know that I'm going to be seeing someone kind of in person and they're going to be quite close, like if I'm talking to someone, say, the reason being is it looks more natural on the skin. It doesn't look like it's just sitting there, and it looks more like a glow rather than like a really intense highlight, which is what I prefer because I'm all about kind of textures of the skin and how things look texture wise. So I just like how more youthful, I guess, a cream looks. It's more forgiving on skin that is dry or a little bit older. So this one is quite a new product actually. It's by Soap and Glory. It's called the Mighty Contourer. I love the names that they give these. So inside, I'll show you actually. There's a contour, that's a cream blush and a cream highlight. Now the cream highlight on this is quite pale. So if you prefer your highlight to look a little bit more natural, more maybe pale but not as shimmering, then I think that you would like this. It's more natural looking and it just highlights, as in makes it look a little bit lighter and brings it forward without having that, you know, shiny kind of impact. So this would be for more of my natural folks out there. So moving on to my cream sticks. This is by Rosie Huntington Whiteley, pronounce it, for autograph at Marks and Spencer's. So you might not be able to get this as easily, but you should definitely be able to get it online. She has created a really nice range. She does some beautiful coloured lipsticks, but I was really impressed by this stick highlight. It's very easy to use. Just pop it into your handbag. If you wanted to just add a little bit of highlight, then you can. Very easy to blend and work with, and it's a beautiful kind of palish pink, I would say, like a pearlized pink. This I've used quite a bit and I've had a few compliments when wearing this because it does look very natural. It kind of melts into the skin and it just looks like you're lit from within, which I know is such a cheesy phrase. This is the shade Get the Glow. So lastly is Iconic. Now you would have seen this all over Instagram. Everyone kind of is endorsing it. You see all the celebrities using it and you think, is it really that good? Now I haven't been paid to mention this in this video at all, but it actually is really nice. So again, it's very similar to the rosy shade. The only difference is it's slightly more creamy. I would highly recommend this one, and it's in the shade, well, it's just their strobing stick. So moving on to liquid highlighters now. The first one I'm going to talk about is by 17. This is the Wow Skin Highlight. I've used quite a bit, so there's hardly any in there. It's more of a pink pearlized shade. Liquids I just adore because they just work really well with the skin. Creams are good, but sometimes some formulas can slightly drag and pull, which obviously I'm not fond of in this area because the skin's quite delicate. But liquids, just yeah, even if you're on holiday, you can add a little drop of liquid highlight and it can just transform kind of your foundation and everything. It just makes it look a little bit more kind of glossy, because sometimes when you go on holiday, if you apply foundation, it can look a little bit flat, especially with the rest of your skin if it's glowing off a tan. So popping in a bit of highlight really helps. So lastly is a product very similar to the 17 one, except this one I would say isn't as pink. This is more pale, so, and it has a slightly more golden tone to it. This is one of my favorite products. Okay, so I used this for the first time like 2 years ago when I went on a brush tour with L'Oreal, and I had to do some demonstrations on some students. So I do makeup tutorial kind of things, and what I was doing is I was applying this onto cleansed skin, and straight away the skin was like glowing. It was just so beautiful, like they just had a facial and it had no makeup on, and they weren't models, so it's not like, oh well, it's a model with already beautiful skin, blah blah blah. It wasn't. It was just a student. We took our makeup off, I'd moisturised and everything, then I applied this and it was like bam, amazing, glossy, glowing. And then I mixed in a couple of drops with the foundation and I stippled it on the skin, and then I applied a little bit. So I know it's like, wow, you've used it as a primer, you've used it in the foundation, and you've used it as a highlight, but trust me, it just worked. It didn't look over the top, and that's because with these kind of highlighters, it's not like chunky bits of pigment in there. It's very fine, kind of reflective, pearlized pigments. So it just looks like you have very, very moisturised, hydrated, glossy skin, which I guess everyone wants, and then you can customise it how you want. So if you don't want that all over glow, then just apply it to the cheekbones. If you want to have that kind of fresh based kind of catwalk style all over glow, then do what I've said. Apply it as a base, mix it with foundation, and then just go over the cheekbones, and honestly you will love it. This is definitely one of my staple must-have products. It's something that I've continued to use since I first used it a couple of years ago, so I think that has to be my top product for liquid for sure. I would say for powder it would be the Balm or Model Zone, definitely. These two are just insane. And for the cream, I would say Iconic is really good. So those are my favourite highlighters. Oh, I forgot to tell you as well, obviously if I'm using a stick highlight or a cream, I'll use my finger or straight away use the stick and then just blend it in with my fingers. If I'm using a liquid highlight, then on the cheekbones I like to use a little brush like this just to dab it on and just to kind of brush it in, and then I'll tap over with my fingers or a beauty blender. This is the Real Techniques something setting brush, but it's really good for liquid products. So there you go, that is my tip for the day. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions, then leave them below. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will see you all soon.